Hey everyone, it's Rob Ryder. I had a video I wanted to get off my chest so I could get on to the things I had been talking about, but this is, to myself, is important enough that I'm doing it all as one video just to Donald John Trump, and I hope he's listening. Donald John Trump in 3 USC 19. That'd be the United States Code, Section 19 of Title 3. It has to do with the president. On Saturday, December 14th, 2019. And so, Donald John Trump, you cannot prove being a citizen of the United States. There is no record of your fathers residing in the United States. I'll show you why that's important, sir. Hang on a second. And you did not swear to support the Constitution, causing a vacancy in the president or in the office of president. And that's what 3 USC 19 is about, is vacancy in the office of president. And so, the oath you took, sir, at Article 2, it doesn't support the Constitution. And Article 6 says all judicial officers, executive officers, House representatives, senators, list all these different classes of people, of which you are one, have to swear an oath to support the Constitution. And so, hey, you have to swear 2 oaths. Somebody did it that way on purpose, right, to make it confusing, but it is really that simple. And so I suggest that you please ask the court for judicial review of the process, right, of your becoming the president, and then have them issue a decree to certify your incumbency. And for your information, sir, Congress is also vacant qualified incumbents. There is nobody in Congress. They didn't take the proper oath of office. They have even bigger problems than you do. And we'll look at that in a second. And so for everybody else, hey, if you were born in the United States, you likely have a DJT defect also. In other words, your father's residence is not included on the certificate of live birth. And so there's no evidence that your father, that you can get as a vital record, that shows that your father was a resident of the United States, and because of an old law, well, then you can't be a citizen of the United States. Now, if you are naturalized, your certificate of naturalization states, basically, that you defected from the United States and you went to the United States of America, which is a dominion of King George III's successors. Treaty of Peace. We'll look at that too in just a second. And so I'm just going to show you, sir, where all these little things come from. And, in the meantime, get on the phone and get one of your people to, make some phone calls. Because you need to get certified. And so I'm actually filing a court case, or I'm trying to, into the district court, the United States District Court, Western District of Michigan, that we'll look at, telling them to certify your election. Anyways, what's it say in the 14th Amendment, Section 1? It says, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, see it's 2 parts, something and something else, are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protections of the law. So if you could become a 14th Amendment citizen, then you would have privileges and immunities, and you would not be deprived of your any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, and equal protection under the laws. Well, that isn't what's happening out here in the real world, Donald John Trump. That isn't how we, the people, get treated. We get treated like we're enemies of the state. And it's because that these defects have been put into our records, and the people that take the records serious are saying, well, apparently you're an enemy of the state. We're going to treat you as one. And for us, we need to get our records changed. I'm depending on you to lead the way. Because, if you were to break this down here, all persons born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the state wherein they reside. Well, I was born here. Now, how do I become subject to the jurisdiction? The other part. Well, I would say that's what you do when you register for the draft. And I've shown in other videos that isn't done right, that they arbitrarily give everybody the same classification of 1H, which means you're not available for 1A, which is unrestricted duty in the military. And you didn't get tested. There's 3 parts you're supposed to do at the very beginning. Register, get classified, and get tested. And so you registered. They classify you, but you never get tested. And so there could be a court case sitting against you in some district court somewhere that you don't even know about because you didn't follow the rules. And the same thing then, all naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the state wherein they reside. So if you made yourself subject to the jurisdiction thereof, you would become a citizen of the United States. But we don't have any paper that shows that. And naturalization is done through the district court. It's the naturalization court. And so they should issue a decree. Well, if they can issue a decree for somebody who's been naturalized and made themselves subject to the jurisdiction, then somebody who's born here and made themselves subject to the jurisdiction should be able to get a decree from the court also. Really sounds simple. And hey, Rob Ryder, email address court@record.AOL.com, phone number 616-712-6179. Just in case you got somebody who wanted to call me Donald John Trump, I'll explain it to them a little bit better. I'm just giving you a brief overview. So give me just a second, please, and I'll show you where all this comes from. Okay, so if you were born in the United States, you probably have a thing called a certificate of live birth. A lot of people call them birth certificates, but that isn't what it's called. It is a certificate of live birth, commonly called a COLB. And on the COLB, if you look at Block 2, it shows the usual residence of your mother. All right, state, Michigan, county, bay, township, city, whatever. Mailing address. You notice your mailing address is only your street number, name, and the zone, which back in the day Auburn was the city, but now it would be whatever the zip code is. Right, that's all you really need to use for a mailing address. You don't need to give them the city that you live in or the state or anything else. But if you notice, they went to the detail of Michigan, but the place of birth, it doesn't say it was in Michigan. It just says county, Bay. Right, Bay City, in a hospital. Well, that hospital does have a United States flag outside, so technically that's an alcove in the United States. Even if it's in a foreign country, it's an alcove in the United States. Flag is flying there. So we claim the jurisdiction. Where they show the mother with the state, right? So you could say, well, that's the same place. But, if it was the same, then how come they didn't put state here and put a state in? They didn't do it. And they show your mother's residence, but they don't show a residence of your father. Right? Here's father of child. It says his birthplace was Michigan, but it doesn't say it's in the United States. It just says Michigan. Mother, her birthplace was Michigan. Now, it must be different because I have a certified copy record of birth. And on here, it has a residence for both the father and mother. But you can't get this document as a vital record from anybody, right? The vital record they give you is this other damn thing that doesn't say your father has a residence. And the reason that is important is there was this act way back in 1795, an act to establish a uniform rule of naturalization. and to repeal the act heretofore passed on that subject. It's also called 1 Stat, S-T-A-T, 414, right? 1 Stat 414. Well, there's a number of interesting sections. Let's get to the part that matters. It says here that provided that the right of citizenship shall not descend to persons whose fathers have never been resident in the United States. So if you can't prove your father was a resident of the United States, then you can't be a citizen of the United States. So, that's messed up. But what it said about this, how you do these things, right, was you declare on oath or affirmation before the Supreme, Superior, District, or Circuit Court of some one of the states or of the territories, Northwest or South Ohio, or a Circuit or District Court of the United States, 3 years at least before his admission, that it was bona fide his intention to become a citizen of the United States and to renounce forever, da-da-da-da-da. So you need to go to the court and file paperwork. Right? He shall, at the time of his application to be admitted, so that's what he's doing up here before these other courts. So, the Supreme, Superior, District, or Circuit Court of some one of the states. Which one? I don't know. What states we talking about? Or of the territories north, west, or south of the Ohio River. Well, that's where I lived at the time, right? That would be the Northwest Ordinance they're talking about. Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin, Minnesota. Wisconsin. I don't think Minnesota's in it. Illinois, Indiana. Them people. Right? Declare an oath or affirmation before one of the courts aforesaid that he has resided in the United States 5 years and within the state or territory 1 year. So we have to declare these things. They're talking about doing it as as an alien, basically. So we have to make ourselves subject to the United States to be a citizen of the United States, whether you were born here or naturalized here. The court admitting such alien shall be satisfied that he has resided within the limits under the jurisdiction of the United States 5 years, and it shall further appear to the satisfaction that during that time his behavior as a man of good moral character, attached to the principles, Constitution, da-da-da-da. So, right? The court has to give you something that says that, that you've done these things. That any alien now residing within the limits under the jurisdiction of the United States may be admitted to become a citizen on his declaring on oath or affirmation in some one of the courts aforesaid that he has resided 2 years at least within and under the jurisdiction of the same, or 1 year at least within the state or territory wherein the court is at the time held. And so, even people that are naturalized today, they're not doing it through the court. They're doing it through the Immigration and Naturalization, which is part of the Department of Justice. It's an executive branch office. It isn't, a judicial branch office. And this is, doing things through the judicial branch office, which isn't what we're doing. We're going to the executive branch office, and they're putting a defect in the record, and then they're using it against you, saying, well, hey, according to your record, you're not a citizen of the United States, so you don't get to have equal protection. Provided, right, that you get to have, shall not descend, that no person heretofore prescribed by state had been legally convicted of having joined the Army of Great Britain. So there's some issues there that would have to be clarified, right? And the place to do it is with the court. And so that's my, this is what I'm going to do is I'm going to start writing the court and say, what do I need to do this? And see if they'll just tell me. Because one of the things you need to do is, you need to establish your domicile, which isn't just your residence, it's the place you intend to come back. It's your permanent residence. And you have to tell somebody, this is my residence, this is my domicile. Well, if they're using like the county as a municipality, then the county is your residence. So I'm a resident of Kent County, Michigan, United States, not necessarily Oakfield Township, Kent County, Michigan, United States. But it could be. But that thing with the Kent County, I think, needs to be in there because I think they're considering that our municipality. Instead of just an administrative division of the state, of the state of Michigan, the state local, right? It's actually a municipality, which is a local government. It's not the state, it's a local government. And so that would be your domicile. So, anyways, that's more on that some other time. So here's a certificate of naturalization. And if you read these things, right, it says, so Rosita was then residing in the United States. Before we go any further, right, this is the United States of America certificate. Not United States of America, not United States. The United States of America. This is the thing that was created under the Articles of Confederation. The style of the Confederacy shall be the United States of America. It's the Republic. So the Republic then is witnessing this document that said that Rosita was then residing in the United States and intending to reside in the United States when so required by naturalization laws of the United States, and had in all other respects complied with the applicable provisions of such naturalization laws, and was entitled to be admitted to citizenship, such person having taken oath of allegiance in a ceremony conducted by the U.S. District Court, Northern District. It just stops at IL. It doesn't say Illinois. It's like, well, what the hell is this court? It's not the United States District Court. Right? This is some inferior court. But what she did there was that in Chicago, Illinois, that such person is admitted as a citizen of the United States of America. She wasn't made a 14th Amendment citizen of the United States. She was made a citizen of the United States of America. And this is King George's venue. Treaty of Peace, 1783. It's right here. It's 8 Stat 80. Where it starts out with, the Prince George III talking about himself. By grace of God, King of Great Britain, France, and Ireland, defender of the faith, Duke of Brunswick and Lunenburg, Arch-Treasurer and Prince-Elector of the Holy Roman Empire, and CA, excuse my cough, and of the United States of America. Right? He's the owner of the United States of America. That's what he called it. We called it the colonies. He called it the United States of America. So it's his. We never denied it. And so if you get a passport, it will say United States of America. It doesn't say the United States of America, but clearly that's used because it's right here. The United States of America. It's also on money. But your passport says United States of America. And this says that you left the United States and you went on to become a citizen of the United States of America. Now, even crazier than this, and Ro just found this out, and now she's gone on a little vacation, so she hasn't gotten the documents yet. But she found in her immigration paperwork where somebody had put together a application for name change. And they had taken her father's given name and made it her middle name. Because she doesn't have a middle name. It's Rosita, last name, right? That's the way they do it in Lithuania. So when she got here, somebody filled out a document that she hadn't signed, but there's a document saying that she's asking to have her father's middle name, her father's given name, made into her middle name. So last week, as we're doing this research for this stuff, she got the idea to call the court and just ask them straight up, do you have an application for name change for me? And they asked her, well, when did you get naturalized and what was the date and da da da. And she gave it all to them. And the lady looked it up and said, yes, we do. It said that you wanted to change your name from the name now with the middle name back to this name here, Rosita last name. And so that's what showed up on the certificate. And so earlier, they gave her a middle name, they did something, then they show another document asking to have her name changed back, like she had that name, and now we're going to change it back to what she had always been using. And there you go, right? This is shit happening behind the screen. She was given a middle name and they took it away. And the reason I believe they give you a middle name is because when you go to Social Security, they say your legal name is just your first name and your last name. The legal name is a name used to sign legal documents, deeds, and contracts. Yeah, I get it. We do not consider middle name or suffix part of the legal name. So if you fill out an SS5 application and you put in the middle name box, like Robert Allen, and then last name, well, then they're going to say, well, Allen is your middle name, not your given name, and we're not going to use it in your record, and we're going to create a record that, doesn't reflect what the SS5 showed. Because they've just decided arbitrarily not to consider your middle name your legal name. Now, in 6 CFR Part 37, the Real ID Act, which is going into effect 2020, that says if your ID doesn't comply with this, you can't get an airplane, it says you have to use your full legal name. And it defines your full legal name as your first name, middle name, last name, or surname, no nicknames, no initials, which is a different definition than this. So you got Homeland Security saying your legal name is one form, and you got Social Security saying it's another form. But they're not going to consider your middle name as part of your legal name, and they did this on purpose. And now, right, because mom and dad put your your given name into the middle name box, they're going to say, well, that isn't your legal name. So my legal name is just Robert Ritluski, not Robert Allen Ritluski, which should be, given name and family name. So to translate given names and family names shown on documents that are admitted as SSN evidence to the first and last name on the application, respectively, as follows, right? Evidence to the first and last name. It doesn't say to a middle name. Given names, full first name and middle name, either of which may have more than one part, and family name. Since a person's middle name or suffix is not considered part of the legal name by SSA, arbitrarily, they've decided to write their own rules. A middle name shown as part of a given name or a suffix as shown as part of a family name can be omitted or entered in the middle name and suffix fields of the enumeration system. If the applicant has a given name with multiple parts and does not allege having a middle name, then the multiple parts should be entered in the first name box. But that isn't what happened because, mom and dad filled the damn form out wrong. And then, we did the same with our kids. So these are all these little things that they've done to us, sir. Here's another one. Here's Ellis Island, right? This is where all these people were supposed to have come in back in the day to the new country. And if you look at their ships, said they were going to New York, but Ellis Island's in frickin' New Jersey. They never made it to New York. All these people are lost at sea. Right? They didn't ever go to New York. Their boat never made it. It went to Ellis Island. Oh my God, it's just crazier and crazier. But these are the things that they did. This was somebody's idea to keep us all from being citizens of the United States. And, so there you go. Now, why is it so important to me? Well, I'm an enlisted man, and my oath of enlistment says that I do solemnly swear, I, Robert Allen Ritluski, do solemnly swear, right? We had to use our full legal name. I didn't get to say Robert A. Ritluski. No, I, Robert Allen Ritluski, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States. You can stop there. See, I took an oath to the President of the United States. I need one to be there for my chain of command to be fulfilled. Now, an oath of a commissioned officer, it isn't done to the President of the United States. Right? They take the same oath that the people claiming to be congressmen are taking, which is an oath with "so help me God," and you can't take an oath as a commissioned officer that says "so help me God." That's a violation of the 6th article, Article 6 of the Constitution. No oath with legal. There's no legal test shall be added to an oath. I don't know how they get around it. Just real quick, this is from the Articles of Confederation, right? Articles of Confederation. Da-da-da-da. The first article says the style of this confederacy shall be the United States of America. Well, that's what's at the top of the damn certificates. The United States of America. So this is the Confederacy. United States of America is a dominion of King George's, and we're both sharing the same territory called the United States under a constitution. But we've not been given our citizenship in the United States, so we're not protected by the laws. Somebody did that on purpose. So what I did, sir, is I put in a complaint to the district court, and I'm trying to get them to enter it as a miscellaneous action. We'll see if they do. So I'm going to go ahead and read it. But what you need to know, because you're a busy man, you can go do whatever you need to do. Title 2, or Title 3, this is for the president. It says here, vacancy in office of both president and vice president, officers eligible to act. If by reason of death, resignation, removal from office, inability, or failure to qualify, there is neither a president nor a vice president to discharge the powers and duties of the office of president, then the Speaker of the House of Representatives shall, upon his resignation as Speaker and as representative in Congress, act as president. So Nancy Pelosi can't do it unless she leaves office, right? But Bonner left office. He may actually be playing the part of president right now. Crazy as that sounds, sir, because you didn't follow the rules yet, right? You have failed to qualify, so you can't discharge the powers and duties of the office of president. So give me a minute. I'm going to read to you this complaint I put in. Hang on a second. I found a couple more things I wanted to mention before I go through my complaint I put in. So, President-elect Trump, if you were to go to the Supreme Court of the United States and say, "I'd like to look at your rules, please," and you found Rule 45, it would say the process and mandates. It says all process of this court issues in the name of the President of the United States. Well, ain't that something? Who's ever seen any paperwork come out of the Supreme Court in the name of the President of the United States? If you have and can show me a copy, I'd really love to see it. Please email it to me. Court of Record at AOL.com. I want to see it because I don't believe it exists. But that's what it says, sir. I'm not making it up. There it is. This is the Supreme Court rules. Rule 45, all process of this court, what court? Supreme Court, issues in the name of the President of the United States. And find out what that's about. Rules of the Supreme Court of the United States. It would be good to know what that means. And please share it with the rest of us. And if anybody can tell me how to invoke that, well, that's what we need to do. We need to, we'll be the President of the United States. We just need to get the Supreme Court to issue process in the name of the President of the United States. Um, and then, so even though you're not president, you're just president-elect Donald J. Trump, president of the United States of America, right? Not United States. You know, if you look at that seal behind your head when you get up there to talk, it doesn't say President of the United States of America. It says President of the United States. Well, who the hell are these people then? Who's the President of the United States of America? The United States of America, again, is King George's dominion. And so I had shown these before, that Rosita got these from by doing a FOIA to the U.S. Department of Justice, seeking copies of commissions of judicial officers appointed by President Donald Trump. It didn't say Donald J. or Donald John, but they decided to make it Donald Trump. Right? That isn't his legal name, but it's what they're doing. So, this is kind of interesting. So, please be advised, a search has been conducted in the Office of Legal Policy, and 71 pages were located that contained records responsive to your request. So, there are 71 pages of commissions for judicial officers appointed by Donald Trump. I have determined that these pages are appropriate for release without excision or copies enclosed. Please be advised that although we did not locate all documents you're seeking, it does not mean that documents do not exist, nor does it mean that the judges are not duly authorized. The Department of Justice is not the official repository of this type of record. Therefore, some documents are not always forwarded to the OLP for inclusion in their files. For your information, the records relating to federal judges are maintained by the Administrative Office of the United States Courts. AOUCS is an entity within the judicial branch. It is not subject to FOIA. Oh, so you can't ask them for commissions. Although the policy of AOUCS is not to release documents to the public, should you wish to contact that entity, it's addressed as follows. Judges Compensation Retirement Service Office, So, hey, we can contact the Department of Justice, and pay attention, this was, May 29, 2019, finally answering something that she had put in back in August 25th of 2018. So 9 months later, finally getting around to answer, saying, well, we got some papers. But it says here that records related to all federal judges are maintained by some other office. And they didn't say here that they gave federal judges paperwork. They gave judicial officers paperwork. And they're supposed to have mediation, so I got to talk to Rosita about that, and we'll go back and mediate. But anyways, it says Donald J. Trump. It doesn't say Donald John Trump, and he's the President of the United States of America, not the President of the United States. This is the seal of the Department of Justice. And so this is an executive branch office, right? It's not the judicial branch. It's an agency of the executive branch. So these people are working for an agency of the executive branch. They're not working for the judicial branch. And so, Amy, whoever, Bartlett, is not an officer of the United States. She's an appointee of the judicial branch, an executive office of the United States, but not the judicial office of the United States. She's not an Article III judge. And there's 71 pieces of paper here of these people claiming to be an officer or to be a judge of a circuit court or a district court that don't have, this should be the Great Seal of the United States. It should have been done by the Secretary of State in accordance with Marbury versus Madison, judicial review and certificates they were trying to get done. And, they had to be done by the Secretary of State, not the frickin' judicial Attorney General. So there's all sorts of errors, sir, right? This is all pretend stuff, right? There is no President of the United States of America. That may be where Donald J. Trump is, but Donald John Trump is supposed to be the President of the United States. And that's what I'm looking for. So, hey, here's the complaint I put in to the United States District Court. Petition, trying to do it as a miscellaneous action, which is a $47 filing instead of $400 civil action. And miscellaneous actions are things that aren't civil actions. So a civil action is you're trying to sue somebody. Well, I'm not trying to sue anybody. I'm trying to get judicial review. So I should be able to do it as a miscellaneous action. So far, they haven't posted it yet, but I just got sent it. They just got it on Tuesday of this week, and well, they probably had to think about it a bit. Anyways, this is what it says: miscellaneous action. Request judicial review of Donald John Trump's qualifications for the office of President of the United States. Correct all administrative errors and certify him as President of the United States. Review qualifications and oath of office of persons claiming a class of office identified in U.S. Constitution, Article 6, Section 3. Declare office as vacant, qualified incumbent as determined by court. All right, I want them to get Donald John Trump's paperwork squared away and certify him as the president. And then look at all these other oaths of office, and if they're not right, then just declare the office vacant. I, Robert Allen Rutluski, a citizen, soldier of the United States, domiciled in Kent County, Michigan, United States, affirm that I am a non-commissioned officer of the United States, bound by oath of enlistment, subject to the Uniform Code of Military Justice, and that Donald John Trump, the President-elect of the United States, the Vice President appointee, all congressional members elect, and other classes of persons identified in Article 6 of the Constitution have failed to qualify for their office, causing a vacancy in office of the President of the United States, the Congress, and all other classes of offices identified in U.S. Constitution, Article 6, subsection 3. And this is supposed to be the proper legal citation for the Constitution. That's why I did it that way. Respondents have not bound themselves by oath in accordance with the U.S. Constitution, Article 6, Section 3, which says, the senators and representatives before mentioned and members of the several state legislatures and all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution. But no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. That's what it says in the U.S. Constitution, Article 6, Section 3. Well, the President of the United States and Commander-in-Chief of the United States Armed Forces are executive officers, obligating the incumbent to be bound to support this Constitution in accordance with U.S. Constitution, Article 6, Section 3. Right? He's got to comply with this section just like everybody else does. The senators, representatives, right? Members of your state legislature, all executive and judicial officers of the United States and of the several states. So the governor and attorney general and judges of your state and shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support the Constitution, but no religious test shall ever be required. So help me God is a religious test. So anyways, the president's oath, right? So he has an oath in the Constitution. Before he enters the execution of his office, he shall take the following oath or affirmation. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States, and I will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. It doesn't say support. Article 2 says, or Article 3 says, you have to support this Constitution. And you didn't do that. So, well, as it turns out, excuse me, in an act to regulate the time and manner of administering certain oaths, aka 1 Stat 23, that'd be Exhibit 1, Congress mandated the style of the oath to satisfy the 6th Article of the Constitution and the process of administering and recording the same. The style of oath is I, A.B., and B state your name, do solemnly swear or affirm, as the case may be, that I will support the Constitution of the United States. Right? George Washington said this is the oath that satisfies the sixth article. The very first Congress, this is the very first law passed after the ratification of the of the Constitution. So, if the court's judicial review determines President-elect Donald John Trump did not comply with 1 Stat 23, it must decree him unqualified to discharge the powers and duties of the office of President of the United States and declare the office of President vacant until he is certified by the court to have complied with the laws of the United States, as it appears no one else is qualified for the office of President. Well, why is that? Well, because Michael Richard Pence, the alleged vice president, did not recite, subscribe, record the oath of office in 1 Stat 23. Instead, he recited an oath with a religious test, so help me God, in offense of the Constitution. The oath he recited, it's in 5 U.S. Code 3331, Oath of Office, Exhibit 2. Wording is, I state your name, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and I will take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office which I am to enter. So help me God. Now, it's probably fine up until so help me God, but because it's in there, well, that's a religious test, and it violated the 6th article of the Constitution. So both Donald John Trump and Michael Richard Pence failed to comply with the Constitution of the United States, and until either of them cures their administrative errors, are unqualified to discharge the powers and duties of the United States, causing a vacancy in the office of the President of the United States as defined by 3 USC 19, which we've looked at. Take notice. Title 6 United States Code of Federal Regulations, Part 37, Real ID driver's license identification cards identifies a person's full legal name as the style of name to be accepted by the federal agencies for official purposes. It says so. Defining it as full legal name means an individual's first name, middle names, last name, or surname without use of initials or nicknames. So Donald J. Trump doesn't work. That's not your full legal name. It has an initial. Right? There you are. Donald J. Trump is insufficient style of name for identification of the President of the United States, requiring Donald John Trump's multiple oaths of office, the one in the 2nd article and the one he has to do for the 6th article, found in 1 Stat 23, to identify him by his full legal name. He and all other classes of persons identified by the Constitution, Article 6, Subsection 3, must be identified by full legal name on their oaths of office and other enabling documents, or they cannot claim any authority derived from the Constitution of the United States. Right? They're not qualified and are impersonating officers of the United States. If they try to use the power, it's an impersonation. So everybody in Congress is impersonating an officer of the United States. The United States Congress is vacant, having no qualified members. Persons claiming to be senators or representatives identified in the U.S. Constitution, Article 6, Subsection 3, allegedly recite and subscribe the same oath of office containing an unconstitutional religious test as Michael Richard Pence did, and commissioned officers of the United States do. And their alleged certificate of election, signed by their state's chief executive and countersigned by the state secretary of state, does not identify the alleged member-elect, the governor, or the secretary of state by their full legal name. Alleged members of Congress' oath of office and certificates of elections are simulation of a legal process under color of law. So they took the wrong oath of office. You just didn't take enough of an oath of office. There's a difference, right? They recited a improper oath. You recited the proper oath in Article 2, but you didn't recite another oath in 1 Stat 23, and so you're not quite done yet. You're still unqualified. But these people have committed a crime, as I will point out. So according to the National Archives staff, the copies of oaths of office kept by National Archives on behalf of Congress cannot be viewed by the public until 30 years after the event. And I am unable to provide an exhibit of evidence of the actual documents. Nevertheless, Exhibit 4 is an excerpt page, H712 to H715 of the House section of the Congressional Record dated January 17, 2019, that clearly evidences that unknown persons simulate a legal process under a color of law, filing counterfeit oaths of office and oath to obtain clearance to receive classified information. Petitioner makes the following points concerning Exhibit 4. The House adjourned for the day prior to a pretended filing of the member's oath of office. We'll look at this document in just a second. The alleged filed oath of office contains an unconstitutional religious test. The provisions of 2 USC 25 require administration of oath of 1 Stat 23, not 5 US 3331. The style of name used, identification, is not the person's full legal name, therefore insufficient for identification, according to 6 CFR Part 37. And so now these impersonating members of Congress, these persons gained access to state secrets. They are unqualified to obtain, by swearing, another false oath for access to classified information. These person secretes. Oh well, take that one S out, or take the E out. These persons are not qualified to be members of the United States House of Representatives, yet they gain access to classified information intended for members of Congress by impersonating under a false oath of office to be a member of Congress. Under the Department of Defense Law of War Manual interpretations, these persons would be classified as spies or saboteurs, and by swearing a false oath of office have voluntarily rescinded their American nationality and status as a citizen of the United States. See 8 USC 1481, loss of nationality by native-born or naturalized citizens, in which it says a person who is a national of the United States, whether by birth or naturalization, shall lose his nationality by voluntarily performing any of the following acts with the intention of relinquishing the United States nationality: taking an oath or affirmation or other formal declaration of allegiance to a foreign state or a political subdivision, therefore, after having attained the age of 18 years. Hey, I say they took a false oath of office because they took an oath that says, "So help me God," which isn't by the Constitution, so they're taking somebody else's oath. It must be a foreign government's. It's not the United States oath. It must be a foreign government's oath. If the United States District Court were to subpoena the Secretary of the Senate and Clerk of the House of Representatives to testify and provide documentary evidence of members' oath of office and certificates of election, the trier of the fact would affirm that these members-elect are unqualified for the congressional office they claim and have no authority derived from the United States. The court should then order both chambers of Congress be emptied and locked down until further notice. Certify Donald John Trump and others as citizens of the United States. In Section 3 of an act to establish uniform rule of naturalization and to repeal acts heretofore passed on the subject, January 29, 1795, a.k.a. 1 Stat 414, that'd be Exhibit 5, the Congress established the right of citizenship shall not descend on persons whose fathers have not been residents of the United States. Certificates of live birth do not establish a person's father was ever a resident of the United States, and unless some other vital record is recorded as establishing his father's residency in the United States, and Donald John Trump and others like us cannot prove we're a citizen of the United States unless this court certifies him to be one. So since we don't have any proof, we need the United States District Court to provide the proof. Federal and state civil offices are vacant qualified incumbent. The epidemic of invalid and unexecuted oaths and lack of proof of citizenship has created a vacancy in the office of president. The abandonment of the state's Congress, United States Congress, state legislatures, and all federal and state civil officers of the United States. Not only is the office of president vacant, but no qualified member of Congress or presidential appointee exists to discharge the powers and duties of the office of the United States, of President of the United States. So there is no, chair of the House of Representatives, or there's no Speaker of the House of Representatives, and there is no Vice President because he's an appointee, but he took an improper oath of office, right? That nobody has the right papers. Petitioner demands correction of administrative errors. Donald John Trump was chosen by the people of the United States to be the president and is the current president-elect of the United States, and only needs to correct administrative errors and omissions to be certified as President Donald John Trump. On behalf of the people of the United States, the petitioner asks this court declare Donald John Trump a citizen of the United States, order the correction of administrative errors identified by the court in his acceptance of office, rendering him unqualified for the office of President of the United States, and then certify him as President of the United States. It is the petitioner's belief that the use of all other offices mentioned in U.S. Constitution Article 6, Section 3 must be formally suspended. A state emergency declared and the nation put under military rule until swamp is drained and civil government can be reset. I certify under penalty of perjury that the foregoing is true and correct. Executed 12/9/2019. Robert Allen Rutluski, Staff Sergeant Robert Allen Rutluski, veteran, USA, United States Army. And so that's what I said, and I sent it by priority mail. They got it on Tuesday, and that's where it sits. And so, just really quickly, I want to show these other exhibits I was talking about. Like here's Exhibit 1. This is 1 Stat 23, where it says, being enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives, United States of America, and Congress assembled, the oath or affirmation required by the 6th Article of the Constitution of the United States shall be administered in the form following. Right? Like this, not some other way. Shall be administered in the form following. I, A.B., do solemnly swear or affirm, as the case may be, that I will support the Constitution of the United States. Shall be administered within 3 days after passing of this act by the member of the Senate, President of the House, to him, and then goes on and on and on. So there's the act that says you need to take this particular oath, and then the rest of the act says who has to do it, and it's supposed to be recorded, and that it's the duty of the person taking the oath to make sure these things are done. And so go tell the courts to certify you're the president, Donald John Trump. Here's the oath in 5 USC 3331, right? An individual except the president, so he doesn't need to take this. So it says, but everybody else does. Okay. And here's so this is what happened on January 17, 2019 in the House, right? House page 712, congressional record for the House, where they had an adjournment and they said they were shutting her down until tomorrow, Friday, January 18th, 2019 at 10:30 a.m. And yet, even though they said that, they kept on going, and then they said, well, now we got oaths of office. And the oath of office required by the 6th Article of the Constitution of the United States and provisions of Section 2 of the Act of some to be administered to members, resident commissioner, delegates of the House of Representatives, the text of which is carried in 5 USC 3331. So help me God. Has been subscribed to in person and filed in duplicate with the clerk of the House of Representatives by the following members of the 116th Congress pursuant to the provisions of 2 USC Section 25. And if you look at 2 USC 25, it has in the footnotes, it's talking about 1 Stat 23. It's not talking about, nowhere in there does it say anything about 5 USC 3331. And I tried to find this 23 Stat 22, and it seemed to me I didn't find it the first time. I have to go look again. Something they did in 1884, after the Civil War. So then it goes through and it shows all these people who did this. And you'll see you got people using a middle initial. You know, I'm sure Mo Brooks isn't this person's real full legal name. Right? Gary J. Palmer. You can't use a middle initial in your full legal name. And, you know, in 2020, you can't get on an airplane unless you're using your full legal name, because that's the name recognized by federal agencies for official purposes. You can't put a nickname in, you know, Earl L. Buddy Carter. So if these are the names these people put on their oaths of office, then all these are invalid names on an invalid oath because it has a religious test, violating the 6th article of the Constitution. So it doesn't matter what some statute they passed in the 1880s says. The Constitution says you can't have a religious test. And so it lists all the people that did. And then after they got done, well, then they went and got an oath for access to classified information. And they're all listed again. So, you know, this was supposed to be for people that were members of Congress. But these people aren't members of Congress because they use an improper name on a false oath of office. I don't know what else to say other than, well, we just have to say that until further notice, we're going to shut down Congress until we get this all straightened out. And declare martial law. We're already under martial law. It's evidenced by the gold fringe flags in all the courtrooms, and so forth and so on. So, hey, that's what I had to get off my chest, Donald John Trump. So I hope this gets to you somehow and you pay attention to it and you understand what's going on, that, you know, we've been shanghaied, taken to the United States of America. We're not citizens of the United States because there's no record that our fathers or resident ever resided in the United States. And, you know, because this is what they give you when you go to the county for your birth certificate. They give you this certificate of live birth, and it has your mother's residence on there, but it doesn't have one for your father. And so there's no evidence your father was a resident, you know, in Michigan, Bay, Auburn, da-da-da-da-da. It just says birthplace Michigan, but it doesn't say his father was, right? Was his father ever? And it goes on and on and on. And so to break that chain, we need to get a decree. And I guess that's the other important thing for me, is beyond my blah, 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 is to contact the district court, chief judge of the district court, just write them directly, ask him some questions and see if they'll answer it. I say, I want to, you know, I was born here, and I want to be subject to the United States. Now, technically, I already did this in something I haven't going in another case, but it was in a civil case that had been filed, not just writing to the judge. And I think that it should be, this is an administrative issue, not a judicial issue. They'll issue a decree, but you apply for a decree. You don't go to court to get a decree. They can just, you know, issue a decree based on applying with the court. So I'm going to leave it there and post this, and we'll see what happens next. Okay, have a great day. We'll see y'all.